Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day or evening. Today's story features some instant karma. Opie found out his wife went to a hotel to meet up with her affair partner, but after they did the deed and she was planning on leaving, her car ended up dying. Now his wife is begging for mercy and reconciliation after she recently ended up in serious debt and knows her affair partner can't help her. In today's second story, Opie found out his fiancée cheated on him and needs advice on how to proceed. Now, let's get into today's stories. This is my first time posting on Reddit, so I'm going to do my best. I don't know the acronyms yet. I'm trying to learn them all. If my writing and story is all over the place, just know I'm going off the top of my head and thoughts and emotions right now. Sorry. To start, I'm 31 and my wife is 28. We have 2 kids, ages 7 and 5. My wife asked me for separation August 27th, 2020. She left that day and was apparently living with her mom. The day after, I got messages from her cousin saying that she had been cheating on me. My wife claimed she never did up to this day. A week after, we met up to do a Zoom meeting on her phone to meet our son's teacher online. She got a Facebook message saying something like, "Only a few hours, eggplant emoji, peach emoji, sweat emoji." After the meeting, I asked her if she could explain that, and she said she didn't want to talk about it and that she had deleted the messages already. She said it was a girlfriend of hers because she was going on a date, and apparently girlfriends get excited for each other and think they're just going to get laid, which I obviously didn't believe at all. I got really upset and told her to leave. Around Thanksgiving, October for us in Canada, she told me she was taking the kids to another city to visit her grandparents and go swimming for Thanksgiving. She ended up lying and actually went with our kids and this guy she apparently cheated on me with and stayed in a hotel. On their drive back, the car engine blew and died. The same car she fought me for and owes almost $12,000 on and still makes payments on every couple weeks. This is when I started to believe in karma a little bit more. Between September and November, my wife and I drank together and had sex around 5 or 6 times. I still wanted her back and I really wanted to have sex with her. The part that I'm realizing now is that she had been seeing this guy for a while. I found pictures of them about a week and a half ago. Ever since I saw those pictures and confirmed things, I've stopped talking to her. I just wanted to believe all of her lies, even when they were obvious. So, she cheated on me, left me for him, and was cheating on that guy with me. Just 2 weeks ago, before I found out for sure, she came over and we talked. She let me feel her up and give her a full body massage and everything. Right now, I can't even fathom what has been going on in her head. Some other extra facts. The kids are doing well. My apartment is spotless and I've lost 50 pounds since she left me. 235 pounds down to 185 pounds. She came to my place a couple of times and has cried to me about how it's so unfair that I'm doing so much better than she is. She said it wasn't fair that I was doing all of this now and not when we were together. She told me she still loved me on Christmas and bought me Christmas gifts. Not just junk, but because she knows how much I want to visit Japan and how much I enjoy making ramen and such. So, she put thought into it. I don't mean to sound rude, but she doesn't look very good nowadays either. She put on weight and went hard into drugs and drinking. She told me she cries all the time. She told me she was depressed with me. Left me thinking it'd be better but is still depressed and that messes with her. But as we know, happiness comes from within, and she has none. So, if you left me for someone else, at least be happy about it and make the best of it. She hasn't texted me for 4 days now. That's the longest she hasn't texted me in 4 months. She told me before when we were together that if she ever left, I would fail. When I started a job working in a kitchen, I started as a dishwasher and she said I would never make any friends. Apparently, she forgot how social and good with people I am. All the waitresses loved me, and I moved from dishwasher to working on the line, and then was asked if I'd want to bartend. At the time, I was overweight and my self-worth and confidence were shot. So, I didn't take up the bartending job. She didn't like how many people, especially girls, ended up liking me. Throughout the marriage, whenever my wife and I would go out drinking, she would always end up twerking on the wall or the floor and letting guys videotape her. She flirted with everyone and even had many of my close friends thinking I wanted a threesome with her. I don't drink often, but one Halloween I drank too much at a friend's party and ended up passing out and throwing up everywhere. While I was doing that, she was in the bathroom with guys showing her chest off for free coke and who knows what else. But she convinced me nothing happened and ended up making me think I was crazy and that everyone else was wrong. Basically, gaslighting me. I'm seeing a therapist now, and I'm learning that basically, she just needed attention from external sources nonstop. Getting it from her husband just wasn't enough. I know we all have issues and our marriage wasn't perfect. I know I still love her and care about her, but I won't be a back burner or second choice. I hate comparing how me and her are doing, but it makes me feel better right now. I have my own place, a dog, happy kids, my own vehicle, money, and I'm in a university. Even though I feel like complete garbage, I'm working through the emotions so I can fully move on and try to be at peace, whereas she's living with her mom with a broken car, no vehicle, asking me for money and living off CRB, COVID money, unhappy and depressed. She thought the grass was greener and found out that it wasn't. She is so afraid to be alone with her own thoughts that she still sleeps with her mom or the kids sometimes. When I have moved on, she will not have. I don't know if she will ever move on because she knows she made a mistake and is stubborn. In the end, I just don't know why she cheated and left, but continues to text me, had sex with me, and told me how I'm doing so much better than her. It boggles the mind, but then again, how can you understand someone who doesn't even understand themselves? I'm doing well, but some weeks I just feel so much pain. Like, she pulled my heart out, shattered it, and had sex with the other guy on top of the shattered pieces. Anyways, that's the story. There's so much more I could say and background that I could give, but I think this does it. Thanks for reading. Feel free to ask any questions or whatnot. It's a difficult time to get separated and cheated on, what with COVID happening at the same time. Opie, here are my thoughts on the situation. The best advice is to go no contact except for instances that involve the kids. You need to stop letting her in the house. When she wants to talk, cut her off and walk away. She's a cake eater. She wants her cake, her affair partner, and to eat it too, her domestic life. You're letting her hold on to that dream by even entertaining her. I know you still love her, but you admit you can't share her in your life, and that is exactly what you're doing. She can't give you what you need. Focus on yourself and your needs. Let's see what the comments had to say about the situation. Kat Solo said, "This woman has major mental issues." I think many here have mentioned going after custody of your kids because, frankly, she's a mess. She has no self-control. She shows no ability to use good judgment. So allowing her to suck you in over and over is only prolonging the inevitable. You really need to just get her out of your life and mostly out of your kids' lives. As a woman, her behavior disgusts me. She is the type that gives so many of us a bad name. If she's willing to do what you said for free coke, God only knows what else she'd do. Best advice I can give you is to get a lawyer who can tell you how to quietly and smartly gain the information required to get your kids away from her. You will thank yourself for this later. You have to be smart, covert, and it may even take months to gather the info you require, but get a good lawyer and get that ball rolling. Your kids' mental well-being long-term is in the balance here. I agree with you, Kat Solo. Now, let's get into today's second story. I don't know what I'm looking for by sharing this. I'm just lonely, sad, and disappointed. And maybe I just need some reassurance that I shouldn't consider taking her back. I've been together with my fiancé since the end of 2019. In my mind, things were going great. I proposed last year on a mountain near a waterfall, and she said yes. We talked about what the wedding would be like and having children and all that. However, during our relationship, she became less interested in having sex, like from 1 or 2 times a day to 1 time a week or so. I hated that and tried to make things better. I was always careful with her and made sure she finished. She rarely reciprocated the things I always made sure to do. I hated that, but I accepted it. I am guilty because I'm not good looking and I'm a boring person. I'm a web designer and I usually end up staying up late working, and she woke up way sooner than I did because she was going to college at that time. She graduated last summer. I mention this because that was one of her common complaints, that I stayed up late and we didn't have the same schedule. I'm guilty of that indeed, and the fact that I haven't had many activities outside the internet. She is also kind of lonely. She doesn't have many friends, and in my mind, we were getting along great until this May, when a few days prior to my birthday, she told me she wanted to break up. I was devastated. For a week, she didn't say anything, and then she texted me that we had to talk and maybe sort things out because she wanted to get back with me. I forgot to mention that I moved in with her last year after I proposed around October. She told me that she was frustrated that I wasn't paying attention to her and I wasn't helping her enough with the chores. That is true. I was also frustrated by the fact that she was never in the mood. She said it was because she just didn't feel the need to do it. I guess it was a vicious cycle. We talked, got back together, and sort of moved back to her place. However, in that particular period of time, she unintentionally hinted that she had been seeing someone during the week we were separated. I pushed her, and she confessed that she had been going out with a guy but said she didn't do anything with him. I was mad, but oh, little did I know that it was worse than I could ever imagine. We got over it a few days ago. With the seed of doubt planted in my mind, she asked me to look for something in her purse. I found 2 packs of condoms, one open with one missing. I confronted her and she told me that she didn't remember, that she would never cheat on me, that they were old. However, the unopened pack was from 2020. I acted like I believed her, and maybe a part of me did. But yesterday, while cleaning her desk, I moved her mouse, and the screen of the laptop turned on. I wanted to mention that never have I ever invaded the privacy of anyone, but given the last days, I needed answers. I read on her Facebook chats with a girlfriend of hers that indeed she wanted me back and she didn't do anything with him, even though she lied to me about how she met him. With a sigh of relief, I searched for the word sex in a conversation with another girl she was close to last year. I wanted to know what I was doing wrong or why she didn't like it. And oh boy, did my world crash right there. The first result was from last year, where my fiancé described how hot her athletic colleague was and how much she wanted him. It was a graphic description. The others described how she went to a coffee shop with him in a short skirt, and then she went to his house and had sex with him. That was during the months of April and May. I don't know how many times it happened. She said she was trembling and that he had sent her a couple of pictures and she couldn't refuse him. At that point, my hands were shaking and I felt sick. I went back even further, and she had talked to her about other guys she was talking to in March, and she said she was considering getting Tinder. I confronted her yesterday and she couldn't believe I found out. For half an hour, she kept saying she hadn't cheated on me until she started crying and got on her knees. She said that it was a mistake and that she loved me and wanted to marry me and have my children and all that. I got what I could carry of my things, packed them into my car, and left. So, I don't know why I wrote this. I feel heartbroken and destroyed. I really thought I would marry that girl. She is conservative and shy, but I wasn't alpha enough to get to see her true self. I have to hit the gym, I guess. I still can't believe it happened, but yeah, she keeps texting me that she doesn't want to leave me and she would do anything to get me back, and I'm grossed out by the fact that her two girlfriends encouraged this behavior, maybe because she was only telling them the bad things. A month after she cheated was one of their birthdays, so we got together with them and their boyfriends. So, I was probably in a room full of people knowing I got cheated on, and I had never a clue at that time. Thank you for reading if you got this far, and sorry for being chaotic in my writing. Opie, you're doing everything right except for one thing, blaming yourself. You're a decent, honorable guy, and you don't deserve this kind of treatment. Nobody does. Remember, she could have said no to the engagement. She could have come to you before breaking up and said that she wanted to date other people. She could have canceled the engagement at any time because of doubts. You're the innocent victim of her bad actions. Forget the alpha beta crap. Good women stick with good guys. She's not a good woman. If you want a good woman, keep being a good guy, but maybe with a little more awareness next time. For now, do what makes you happy. Sports, working out, hobbies, reading, travel. Do all the things you always wanted to do in your life. Empty the bucket list. Your happiness will not start when you find the right woman. You'll find the right woman when you're happy and want to share it. I wish you the best of luck with your situation, Opie. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's stories. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. Welcome to another Reddit relationship advice video. Remember, if you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and consider subscribing so that I may continue to bring you more Reddit relationship videos. Now, let's get into today's Reddit relationship video. Today's story is called, I Caught My Wife of 9 Years Cheating Behind Walmart. I can't believe I am writing about this, but yep, it's true. I caught my wife of 9 years cheating on me behind Walmart. I had to deal with my wife and a guy I did not know walking hand in hand out of an exit in the back of Walmart. I wish I was kidding. My wife has been staying out until 4 a.m. for the past 3 months or so every single day. She was claiming she was trying to get more overtime. She's younger than me, only by 2 years, but she looks much younger than her age. You can imagine that I was very upset when this happened, though now I am completely fine with it because she is on her way out permanently. I try to tell people about my wife cheating and they just don't believe me, or they offer some BS advice like, just give her some space. No one really understands what happens behind closed doors in relationships these days. People just really don't give a crap. It all started when one day my wife said she was coming home from her shift at Walmart. She worked as an assistant manager. Her shift was supposed to end at 7 p.m., but by midnight she wasn't home. I was calling her and texting, but no response. So I decided to take a trip to go see if everything was okay. It's about a 20-minute drive or so. This is a 24-hour Walmart, so it wasn't closed. As I pull up to Walmart, I see her car in the parking lot. As I pull into the parking lot, I look at her car, but it looks like no one is in the vehicle. So I park my car and go inside. I go to her department, but I don't see her. I really don't see anyone around. Everyone is scattered. A couple people that work with her acknowledge me and wave. I wave back. I then proceed to the back of Walmart. I figured during her shift, she had to go back there for something. So I walked toward the back of Walmart and go to the break room. Still, no sign of my wife. I go to another spot where they unload the trucks. No wife there either. As I am walking back toward the front entrance, I see her leaving through one of the exits at the side of Walmart. She has a man with her. She's holding hands with him, and they're walking toward his car in the parking lot. My heart is racing, but I had to calm down. I don't know why I did it, but I pulled out my phone to start recording. I didn't say a word. I kept my distance. I wanted to see where they were going. They walked to his white SUV. They got in and drove out into the parking lot. He stopped at my wife's vehicle. She got out to get something out of her car. As soon as they left, I ran to my car. I was parked a little far and followed them. The first place they stopped at was a gas station. They both went inside and came back out and kept driving. After the stop at the gas station, I lost them for like 10 minutes or so because traffic blocked me from getting close to where he turned. I got lucky this time. It took me about 15 more minutes to catch up with them again. He then pulled into a hotel parking lot. It's an Econo Lodge hotel. He pulls into one of the parking spots that is near the hotel lobby. They get out and they walk into the lobby. As I am following them, I was thinking, how long does it take to rent a room? How much time is left on her shift? Well, she was supposed to get off at 7 p.m. At least that's what she told me. And what the hell is he going to do with my wife the whole night? I was freaking out. I followed them close enough so that if they walked anywhere else, that I could follow them still. She was talking to him as they walked toward the room. The sign for the hotel says check-in at 3 p.m. and check-out at 11 a.m. The clock strikes 1:30 a.m. and no one is coming or going from their rooms. There's maybe about 5 people in the lobby itself, and all of them are sitting around watching TV. She opens the door, and I see that they are both still dressed. She closes the door behind them. I froze at that moment. Should I run in and knock on the door? But I didn't. You know what I did? I sent her a picture and video recording via text of them holding hands and them holding hands walking into the hotel lobby. After that, I got in my car and drove home, wishing that this had never happened. My wife finally made it home and started asking all these questions. Why did I follow her? I told her, you told me you got off at 7 p.m., but you know what? We don't need to discuss anything. I am filing for divorce. She was in shock right after I said that. She then asked, can we talk? I said, no, there is nothing to talk about. I caught you cheating on me and I have proof of it. You just need to leave. She then says, I don't have anywhere to go. I threw my hands up and said, that's not my problem. If you want to stay here, I will change the locks and lock you out. You can come back in a few days after you find a place. Meanwhile, I am going to sleep because I have been up all night dealing with this. We both go our separate ways. She goes into the guest bedroom, closes the door behind her. I go to our bedroom to get some rest. I get up at about 4 p.m., walk out to the living room and notice the door to the guest bedroom is open. I walk up and peek in, she's gone. I then walk back to my bedroom and notice that most of her clothes are gone. I look out the window of our apartment and her car is gone. I am thinking to myself, she must have come in while I was sleeping. At that moment, I proceeded to call a couple of lawyers to see about divorce procedures here in Virginia. I was going to file for divorce today. I called one lawyer. He kind of gave me some bad news. He said that we had to have lived apart from each other for at least 1 year for a no-fault divorce. He then asked, have I been apart from her for at least a year? I said no. He said I could still file for divorce, but it will be a long process and could get expensive. I asked the attorney, what about a separation agreement? He then tells me the state doesn't have separation agreement laws per se. The only option is no-fault divorce or fault. At this point, after talking to the attorney, the only option I really had was to file for divorce. However, the wife was not home to sign for service of process. So I had no choice but to file in court to have her served. A few minutes later, my wife called and asked, can she come back home? I said, you can, but I am filing for divorce still. My mind hasn't changed. She then tells me she has nowhere to go. At that point, I didn't care, but I didn't have the resources to file for divorce yet. I then tell her you can have the guest bedroom until this is all sorted out. A few weeks go by and I go to my attorney's office and file for the divorce. I then call my wife and tell her that I have filed for the divorce. She asked if we are going to work on fixing things. I told her that wasn't an option anymore. After everything that has been done, No forgiveness or giving another chance would be given. You betrayed me, and I just can't deal with the fact you cheated right in front of my face. I will not be able to get that image out of my head for a long time. And I don't know why you would do that because we were married and you took vows to be loyal to me. I wanted to fix everything, but after this, it was just too much for me. She then started crying and apologizing, saying that she could not live without me in her life. I told her at this point, she can't have us back. You killed any chance for that with this loser you cheated on me with. She then starts to yell at me saying, "What am I supposed to do?" I said, "Did he open your eyes and promise you a better life? Well, you can now pursue that so-called better life. I would rather be alone than spend time with you after what you did." I told her you have the guest bedroom to lay your head until you find a place of your own. She then says, "I can't find a place." I then tell her you have your parents or the guy you cheated on me with, or save your money so you can get a place of your own. She then goes on about the guy she cheated with, saying I don't talk to him anymore. She then started crying hysterically, asking me why am I doing this to her. She never thought I was going to do anything like this. I said, "Listen, you did this to yourself by cheating on me. This is the consequence. You made your bed, now you can lay in it." The phone call ends with us yelling at each other. I get home after my visit with the attorney. My wife's car is in one of our parking spots. I come in and notice her sitting on the couch on the phone, talking to someone. She then hangs up and looks at me and says, "Can we talk?" I said, "What?" "We just got through yelling at each other." "What's there to talk about?" "The divorce is in the works and we both will be free soon enough." She then asked, "Could we try marriage counseling?" I looked at her and said, "No, I don't need counseling. You might need it." I tell her you cheated and no marriage counselor will make that go away. I told her to stop talking to me as I wasn't in the mood to talk to her. She was officially past tense in my book. Even though the divorce wasn't final, I was done, mentally checked out. She starts crying and goes to the guest bedroom. I, meanwhile, go to my bedroom and put my work bag on the bed. I come back out to the couch to gather my thoughts. I am still heartbroken over this, but the good thing is I can move on with my life. I don't have any kids with this woman or any commingled debts. I was almost going to surprise her with the anniversary gift to the Bahamas, but glad I don't have to spend money for that. I am trying to figure out what I did for her to throw away 9 years of marriage for a roll in the hay for a loser. This guy still lives with her parents. Amazing. This divorce can't happen fast enough. I just want to move on with my life. Thank you for watching and listening to the video. Remember, if you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and consider subscribing so that I may continue to bring you more Reddit. My wife and I were married for 16 years. At the time of this story, we had 2 children ages 8 and 11. Our eldest would occasionally watch videos on mom's smartphone, with our youngest watching beside him. I guess we were a pretty average family. I worked full-time while my wife worked part-time and oversaw the house and child rearing. I would help, of course, but our children saw their mother more than me. Over time, our relationship became emotionally distant. It was tiring enough keeping up our daily charade. Despite this, I thought my wife was happy. I went to bed thankful each night for my family, shelter, and security. My wife and I were proud of the savings we built for our children's future. I joked with her often, saying we were living the American dream, a dream without emotional connection or spontaneity. It was January, so it was cold, and we were digesting the huge financial bite we took to give our kids a great Christmas. I was already planning our summer getaway. The kids were going to a summer camp, while the missus and I were going to Las Vegas. I told myself I didn't care what happened in Vegas, as long as my wife and I connected emotionally and physically. From January to May, I tried talking to my wife. We went on bike rides as a family, and it really was therapeutic. It became something we did every day, but when it came to talking, my wife didn't have much to say to me. She did, however, have a lot to say to a complete stranger. While she cooked dinner, I sat on the couch with our kids as they watched a video on her phone. I saw a notification pop up from Abel. It was on an app one never heard of, and the message said something like, "You never know what the future holds." My son swiped the notification away, but I took the phone from him, telling him to play hide and seek with his sister. While my wife cooked and my kids entertained themselves, I frantically looked through the phone. I found several notifications leading to the messages between my wife and Abel. They were part of some kind of support group, but I wasn't sure what for. Their messages never turned sexual, but it was certainly heartwarming. My wife said she wished he lived closer to her so they could meet up. In earlier messages, she explained she was struggling to maintain motivation for her marriage and went on to about me. The only things to really complain about were how much I worked and that I always said the same things. She didn't feel like she had anything new to say either, which made her feel like our relationship had nothing to offer us anymore. In response to that, AP scooped in. He said he could always be in her life, to bring her solace and hope for the future. He said now that they met, he wanted to be whatever she needed him to be in her life. He never had children, but said he always wanted to be a supportive father figure. I was extremely uncomfortable. This man was close to my wife, and far too willing to step in if she called on him. I took screenshots of everything and returned her phone, saying it was in between the couch cushions. I could tell she was nervous that I even had her phone. I didn't want my wife to be talking with this guy, but I also didn't know what to say. It felt like anything I took the time to say would be wasted breath, because I was still me. I didn't think I could make her see me for who I was, her lover, best friend, and father to her children. It was up to her to see me for who I was, but she'd forgotten what made her fall in love with me in the first place. I returned home from work the next day to find my wife super nervous and jittery. She got defensive with me after the first question I asked her. Annoyed, I decided to go for a run alone. I only managed to walk to the end of our street before I heard something and turned around. It was a man leaving my house in a hurry, holding his shoes and belt. I ran over to him just as he closed the door and started the car. I laid on the hood to stop him from leaving. He rolled down his window a little with his heart, visibly pounding his chest, asking me what I was doing. I asked if he was a bull. He just looked extremely fearful. I asked what he was doing with my wife, and he just started begging me not to fight him. I told him I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to know the truth. It was a bull, here to see my wife, but only has a supportive friend. I asked him why, then, was he holding his belt and shoes? He hesitated and his chest started heaving again. I told him I'd give him something to fear if he didn't tell me what I wanted to know. With that, he admitted to having sex with her, but only because she wanted him to, and he promised never to see her again. I got off the hood as he said he didn't realize what he was getting himself into. He swore one more time never to speak to her again before speeding off. My wife was standing on the porch, speechless. She watched me walk towards her with my head hanging down. I told her I was divorcing her and she needed to pack her stuff. She started freaking out, hyperventilating, asking me about the kids and what would happen next. I didn't have anything to say to her. She called her mother on speakerphone to try to convince me to forgive her and stay married, but I told her mother everything that happened. She sounded so disappointed that she hung up immediately and apparently had no interest in talking to her daughter. Her daughter broke vows and refused to work with me for the betterment of our marriage. She lost her house due to me kicking out, lost her husband, and lost parental support because of her actions. Instead of forming a relationship with another man on her phone, she should have started over with me. She could have just dropped her defenses and normal way of thinking to be honest with me. No matter how much it might have hurt, discussing what drove her apart from me might have made all the difference and saved our family. I did the best I could over those 16 years and honestly never expected her to stoop so low. I always made myself available to her and tried to keep her happy, but it wasn't enough. If she just would have been patient and considerate, I know we could repair our relationship on vacation and over time. Opie, don't ever blame yourself for someone else's actions and decisions. She chose to join a group online and secretly start talking to someone else about how she felt. She chose to invite that man over and sleep with him instead of reminding herself of why she fell in love with you and chose you in the first place. Maybe you guys would have started a new hobby together. Maybe you could have kept up the family bike ride in the evenings. There are many ways to inspire a maturing relationship. It won't always feel like how it started out because life is full of change. Relationships and people change. Your wife had a responsibility to keep her head on straight and do whatever she needed to do to improve the life of her kids, husband, and self. Instead, she chose a path of distrust and haste. It was like she covered up a fatal wound with a band-aid. The cause of the problem wasn't dealt with, and now the beautiful marriage must end. You understand that this wasn't your fault, but also that a marriage takes two wise and willing participants. By cheating, your ex was no longer a willing participant in the marriage. Thank you for sharing your story. Now it's time to get into our second story for today. I was about to propose to my girlfriend. We met 3 years prior in the first pottery class of our freshman year at the Institute of Art. Sitting beside each other as we sculpted pots, we had real conversations that became something I looked forward to. As it turned out, both our parents tried to discourage us from going to college as art majors. They didn't see it as a career with stability, but I knew this was because they were from a different time. My father was taught to work hard in physical labor, and my mother was taught to be a faithful housekeeping wife and mother. My girlfriend's parents were extremely similar, so we joked around about getting them together. I really did imagine her parents meeting mine and then us getting married. After our third anniversary, I planned to propose before we graduated. I believe there was a reason we met at art school, despite both our parents' discouragement. We were meant to be artists together. In our second year of college, my girlfriend and I put together a website to sell our creative pieces. We came up with a creative name that included our initials. This was an inspiring thing to do together to boost our confidence, portfolios, and cooperation skills. I had no idea how short-lived her participation would be. With a proposal on my mind, but not quite on my lips, I went to surprise my girlfriend with lunch one day. She had an internship at an art gallery on 3rd Street. As I walked down the wide corridor toward the back room, I noticed two people passionately kissing through partially open blinds. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was my girlfriend. She was in the office of Mr. Potts, the art gallery manager. Instantly, my whole world crashed down. I felt like I'd wasted prime years of my life chasing a pointless career with a heartless, lying woman. Shocked and hurt, I threw open the door and yelled for them to stop. They were disheveled and shocked. AP must have been at least 15 years older than me. He looked extremely embarrassed and said, "I'm sorry, son," as soon as he realized this was my girlfriend. I yelled at her, asking what she was doing, kissing this man. She was quiet, wiping her mouth, when she tried to grab my arm and lead me away. There were several people, including gallery visitors and art critics, gathering outside the office, listening and watching. I refused to go quietly after I started piecing things together. While she tried to pull me down the hall, I announced loudly that she was making out with him because he was the one responsible for promoting artists. She threw my arm down and asked why I was there. I held up the lunch bag and loudly said I was bringing her lunch when I caught her cheating on me. The crowd was shocked and started to give us space. Mr. Potts' blinds were fully shut now, with the door locked. She whispered, saying she didn't cheat. She only slept with him to boost her career, so it didn't count as cheating. I was speechless. I was so surprised she was being serious. She didn't think sleeping with this man in exchange for personal gain was cheating. I asked her what she thought it was, and she said nothing, thereby expecting me to forgive her and maintain our relationship. She said all she had to do was show him her breasts, then he did the rest. I called her crazy and dumped her. My exact words were, "I won't marry someone like you." I immediately went to the receptionist. I demanded to see or speak with the man in charge of Mr. Potts. The head of the gallery, Mr. Espat, came downstairs to meet with me. The same crowd from earlier was standing with me, as if to support and back up my claims, but I think they just enjoyed the unfolding drama. My girlfriend and the art gallery manager were dramatically fired in front of at least 13 people, who cheered when Mr. Espat gave the word. Within 30 awkward minutes, my girlfriend lost her potential husband and internship. She cried in front of everyone and left. That was the last time I saw her, but I heard she failed to graduate the same year I did, probably because she was too embarrassed to submit any art into the gallery and lost her inspiration. Her art and initials are no longer part of my website, which is still thriving to this day. Sometimes I wish I would have gotten the chance to talk to her about how meaningful sexual relations are. Our bodies are meant to be sacred, and who we sleep with is a pretty big indicator of where our life leads. OP, from the sound of it, she didn't take anyone seriously. For someone to use sex to their advantage is extremely disrespectful, especially if they're in a committed relationship with someone else. Where's the humility and honor in that situation? Life is hard for everyone, and sometimes people do desperate things to ensure better opportunities for themselves, but they fail to see that when they take shortcuts, it only hurts them and the people they use or disregard. Mr. Potts lost his job and possibly his family at home because of one intern's unexpected temptation. She didn't love him, but his wife did, and you loved her. She didn't consider any of this and did an excellent job proving herself selfish, inconsiderate, and manipulative. Keep your faith that you won't marry someone like her. There are women out there who've matured and learned what's most important in a committed, meaningful relationship: consideration, compassion, communication, and faithfulness. Everybody has their own thought processes and struggles, but when you love someone, you accept those without judgment. It should be the individual's goal to grow and learn, to diminish their bad habits and practice good ones, therefore improving the marriage altogether. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. My wife had been working on her special project for 4 months now. It was not her personal project, but she was the lead person and responsible for its success. The project was designed to save her company, Bixler Enterprises. The last 4 months had been difficult due to the fact that she was forced to work hard. It was important for both her and the company. There was a good chance that Bixler Enterprises would go under if the project didn't get done. Sarah had a bachelor's degree from Albright and an MBA from Wharton. She was the smartest one in the family. I started working as an auto mechanic right out of high school, and after 21 years, I was still an auto mechanic. I didn't mind because I liked the work and it paid well. It was enough to pay for Sarah's college and raise 2 kids. We weren't living luxuriously, but we were doing well. The kids had already shipped out and things were going pretty well with our income. Sarah got pregnant 3 months after we were married, at the age of 18. For the first few years we were married, we lived with my parents. They had a big, empty house as 4 of my siblings had moved away. That meant we had a babysitter while Sarah got her first few years of college. Because of 2 pregnancies, the 4-year degree took 6 years to complete. It was hard, but she made it through. I always had a job and never lacked for overtime if I needed it. After Sarah graduated from Wharton, we rented our own place. She had job offers from several large firms, but they all required us to move. I didn't mind, but Sarah wanted to stay close to home. That's why she decided to work at Bixler Enterprises. It paid well, but most importantly, it gave her responsibility and the opportunity to advance. Sarah was a hardworking, dedicated employee. The presentation is Thursday at the Radisson Hotel in Philadelphia. I took a few days off work to assist her as needed. In the end, all I accomplished was making her something to eat when she got home. I didn't know anything about her job, nor did I want to know. High-level corporate business bored me. Businessmen from Europe, Asia, and South America came here. The company paid for their airfare and provided rooms at the Radisson Hotel while they were here. It was expensive as hell, and from some of the things Sarah had said, the company was overestimating its finances. Her presentation was important to her, to the company, and to over 200 employees. Until Tuesday evening, everything was going well. Sarah came home in a new outfit, a gray suit with a white blouse. She laid out everything she needed on the bed in the guest room. When it came to housekeeping, she was normal, but when it came to work, she was meticulous. I didn't understand why she needed to pull out her fancy underwear, but I didn't say anything. In addition to her suit for the presentation, she had several cute little cocktail dresses for social events before and after the event. I had always avoided such events, but felt obligated to go with her if she wanted me to. She thanked me for the offer, but said it wasn't necessary. All the materials and equipment she needed were neatly stowed in the trunk of her Volvo before she left work. She drove the car herself to make sure everything was in perfect condition. She had all day Wednesday to get ready and all evening Wednesday to socialize with her guests. Sarah was so good at what she did that I felt it would have been better if I had just stayed away from her. Finally, she was done. She had checked and double-checked everything. All she needed now was a hot shower and a good night's sleep. I guess my mistake was that I started checking her stuff after Sarah started showering. I thought I was helping, but it turned out to be the opposite. I was shifting things on the bed when a small white envelope fell out of the side pocket of her makeup bag. An envelope from a drugstore, but not the kind we usually use. Inside were 10 pills. I had no idea what Previn was, and the instructions were confusing. If necessary, take 1 pill, and then a second pill 12 hours later. I thought it might be something she got from anxiety or nerves, but the instructions didn't make sense. The prescription was written in her name on Monday. I put the envelope back in as she was finishing her shower. I decided I wanted to find out more about Previn before I told her about it. Of course, if I mentioned it, it would mean I was going through her things. I hate dilemmas. While Sarah got ready for bed, I went to our home computer and typed in Previn. 10 minutes later, I joined my wife under the covers. I lay awake all night wondering why my wife had picked up a prescription for the morning after pill, especially after I'd had a vasectomy 10 years earlier. The next morning, I got up early, but I wasn't rested. I took a long walk, hoping it would clear my head. I reluctantly headed toward home, afraid of what I might do or say when I got there. My son Josh joined the Navy after high school and was in his freshman year in San Diego. Our daughter Gloria married her childhood sweetheart last year and just moved to Dallas. That left just Sarah and me. I missed the kids but looked forward to growing old with my wife. She was the only woman I'd ever been interested in. Now it was all turning to shit. If Sarah was having an affair, she hid it well. Of course, I never checked up on her. I never looked at her emails or cell phone calls. I had no reason to. I had no way of knowing what she was doing at work or after work. I trusted her completely. John, where the hell have you been? You want some eggs or something? No, just coffee. I wasn't feeling very talkative. What's wrong, honey? It's only for 3 days. You can come if you want, but you'll be bored to death. No, I really don't want to go, but I hate leaving you alone. I worry when you're not here. That's very sweet, darling, but it'll be all right. I'm not going to leave the hotel all this time. I'll spend most of today making sure the conference room is ready, and tonight I'll have a nice chat with our potential clients. Tomorrow, I probably won't even get a chance to pee. I'll be home as early as possible on Friday. I promise you a great weekend if you know what I mean. That all sounds good, but you can't blame me for worrying. I'm an auto mechanic and I have a beautiful and successful wife. Sometimes I get the feeling that you're less interested in advancing your family situation than you are in advancing your career. Stop it. Damn it, John. I've always respected what you do for a living and never pointed out otherwise. You raised two great kids and put me through college. You are a great husband, a great father, and a good provider, and never forget that. I finished my coffee while she cleared the table. Do you want me to call you? No, that's not a good idea. I'll have my cell phone off and I'm going to turn off my room phone for the night so I can get some sleep. I'll call you every chance I get. I helped her load the car. She was as fussy about it as she was about everything else work-related. It would take her 3 hours to get to the Radisson Hotel. I stood on the porch and watched her leave. I didn't bother asking her about the pills. I spent the rest of the morning on the porch. I don't remember ever worrying as much as I did now. I felt small and insignificant. I felt out of my league. I was a small-town guy with a mediocre job and a successful wife. It was a mismatch. I should have noticed it earlier. I felt stupid. The best suit I had was a blue blazer and a pair of pants. At least I had a few ties, even if they were 10 years out of date. I had just finished getting dressed when the landline phone rang. Hey, sweetie, I just wanted to let you know I got here okay. You had a good drive. I'm assuming the traffic wasn't too heavy. It was fine. I'll call you tonight. Now I gotta go. I'm in room 714. Sarah, I can be at my parents' or my brother's tonight. If you want to call me on my cell phone. Okay. Cell phone rings. I love you. Gotta go. I took my time getting to Philly. I didn't go straight to the Radisson. I stopped first and got a steak and cheese. It promised to be a long night. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I parked in the hotel garage and just waited. Sooner or later, I had to enter the hotel. I just couldn't decide when to do it. The ringing of my cell phone helped me make my decision. John, I just wanted to let you know that everything has settled. I'm going downstairs now to meet some people and have dinner. You didn't forget anything, did you? No. Everything's fine. I've got everything in my room for tomorrow. Do you need anything? No, Yon. Relax. I'm going to turn my phone off. I'll call you tomorrow morning. All right. Chuckles. Have fun. It's not fun, John. It's work. I didn't look too out of place. The lobby, restaurant, and conference rooms were full of people, so I could remain inconspicuous. There was a cute little brochure that showed the layout of all the hotel rooms. I wandered through the different rooms and stopped at the walls, looking around at the crowd. I had no idea what I would do if Sarah saw me. I would find out if, and when that happened. I found an event board that listed all the rooms that were being used by the various groups. Bixler Enterprises didn't have any rooms available for Wednesday night. I found this interesting. Sarah had said she wasn't going to leave the hotel, but now I wasn't so sure about that. There were 3 dining rooms: family, casual, and fine dining. Sarah wasn't a big fan of dining with kids, so I went to the casual room first. It only took 5 minutes to make sure she wasn't there. I had better luck in the gourmet lounge. It was a cozy little booth nestled in the corner, the kind of table people reserved to have a private rendezvous. Sarah was wearing a black cocktail dress with a deep neckline and pearls. She looked elegant, and her companion looked like he appreciated it. I knew a few of the people Sarah worked with, and he wasn't one of them. He was familiar to me, but there was no way I could remember him. There were plenty of free seats, so I had no trouble crossing the room. There were candles and small glass candlesticks on the tables. I blew mine out and told the waiter it was bothering my glaucoma. I ordered the usual chicken dish and made myself comfortable. The waiter poured my coffee for the third time. Excuse me. The guy at the table across the table looks awfully familiar. Do you know who he is? Sure. That's Malcolm Eugene Foote. He's a member of the town meeting. He's expected to run for Congress in the next few years. Is that his wife with him? She's very pretty. No, this is the first time I've seen her. He always uses that table for special ladies, if you know what I mean. I just smiled at him and asked for the check. I had never seen Sarah so sensual with a man before. She seemed to catch every word he said like he was God or something. They weren't doing anything inappropriate, but it wasn't platonic or businesslike. When I left, they were finishing their second bottle of wine. Now I understood why she had taken her fancy lingerie. I made myself comfortable in the corner of the lobby so I couldn't be seen. 10 minutes later, they walked out of the restaurant. She held his hand as they walked across the lobby to the elevator. I watched the floor indicators carefully. That the elevator stopped on the third floor was a good sign. It meant she hadn't taken him to her room. It was a bad sign when the elevator didn't go to the seventh floor. It meant she went to his room. Just in case I was wrong about something, I sat in the lobby and watched the elevator for an hour. People came and went, but Sarah was not one of them. I got my empty suitcase out of the car and walked up to the front desk. Even though I could prove I was her husband, I had a hard time getting a key card. They relented after calling the room, but no one answered. Finally, I was on my way to room 714 with the key card. I didn't even turn on the lights at first. I just sat in the dark room for over an hour. It wasn't hard to make sure she wouldn't come back to the room. First, I packed all her clothes and personal belongings. I didn't leave anything behind. I checked the package of Previn. There were still 10 pills left in it. On the dresser, very neatly laid out, were all the items she would need for her presentation the next day. I began to fill the suitcase. There were 24 specially bound promotional folders and another 20 regular folders. All of them went into the suitcase. A digital projector went in next, followed by a laptop. I took her purse and cell phone, which she'd left in the room. All she had with her was a clutch and probably a tube of lipstick. I walked around the room as carefully as she did to make sure I didn't miss anything. Once I was satisfied, I put her car keys and my wedding ring on the dresser. Other than those two items, the room was completely empty. The elevator headed straight for the parking garage. I had no trouble carrying 2 suitcases, and 20 minutes later, I was on the expressway heading north. It was well over 3 in the morning. I had no idea it had been that long. An hour or two later, my cell phone rang. Caller ID showed it was the Radisson's phone number. John? Yes. Where are you? I'll be at the house soon. That's all I said. It was quiet on the other end of the line. Salesmen have an old saying. The first one to talk loses. It seemed like an eternity before she spoke. Hon, I'm sorry. She didn't ask anything and just hung up. I turned my phone off. It was obvious that she had gone back to her room. Later that day, she was to give a presentation that would save her company and bring her a promotion. I put the suitcases in the attic of the garage. Sarah never went there and never thought to look for anything there. Of course, at this point, I'm pretty sure it didn't matter. First, I gathered all my clothes and personal belongings. Most men have their own tools. It's usually a requirement for the job. I stopped by the store, loaded mine into the Subaru, and picked up my last paycheck. By then, the banks were already open. I didn't have to do any fancy money and asset manipulation. I just withdrew all the money from my accounts. I had lunch in Hagerstown, Maryland. I had enough money to live on for a few years, but I knew I would be looking for a job very soon. Sarah and I were alike in that. We both loved to work. I'm going to miss her. I killed a couple hours in the Luray Caves and rented a room near Whiteville. I had no idea what I was going to do. It was Saturday, and I found myself sitting at the Chattanooga Aquarium, watching nature I had never seen before. I spent a few hours just relaxing and decided it was a good place to be. I bought a year pass to the aquarium, and by dinner time, I had a place to stay. It was a mobile trailer in the park, but it was furnished and cheap. I didn't need much. First thing Monday morning, I was going to get a job. A good handyman can always get a job, especially if he's willing to work hard. I could remain inconspicuous until it was time to renew my driver's license or car tags. I'll worry about them when the time comes. Sunday afternoon, I called Gloria. I felt obligated to let her know what was going on, but Sarah had already told her. She was pretty frank with Gloria about what happened. She said she cheated, I caught her, I left, and she lost her job. I felt bad that she lost her job, but that was the price she had to pay. I asked Gloria to tell Josh what was going on the next time she talked to him. I also told her that I would call about once a month to check on how things were going. I didn't tell her where I was. By noon the next day, I had a job. It was actually a short walk from the trailer park, with the Waffle House about halfway there. What more could a man want? I don't know how they handled the paperwork, but I was getting $20 an hour with no questions asked. I was happy, and they were happy. I wouldn't even have to get into my money that I brought with me. About 2 months later, Gloria informed me that Sarah had moved out of the house and was living with her parents. Gloria didn't know anything else, but was happy that I was settled and doing well. Josh called me from San Diego just to let me know he was going on a cruise. He was an avionics technician on an aircraft carrier. He tried to explain what he actually did, but it was over my head. I never really knew much about technical stuff. Both of them were careful not to say anything bad about their mother. I appreciated that. After that, it was business as usual. I started talking to Gloria at least weekly. Josh and I started emailing regularly. Gloria talked to Sarah regularly, but she said very little about what she was doing or where she was. I never filed for divorce, and it seems Sarah never did either. I have a Tennessee driver's license and the tags on the Subaru. I started going to one of the local bars a couple times a month and even got laid. 2 girls took turns becoming regular nighttime companions. They weren't looking for commitment, and neither was I. It seemed to work out well for all of us. Life was good. That was a long time ago, and I gradually forgot about Sarah. Eventually, Subaru started giving me trouble. I'd forgotten how long it had been. It was over 200,000 miles. I was pondering this over a mug of beer one day when I realized that it had been almost 5 years since I'd left home. I had kept in close touch with both children. Gloria had 2 children of her own by this time and wanted me to come visit them. Josh almost married a Thai woman, but at the last moment he refused. I usually worked 6 days a week and used Sunday to recover from Saturday night. There was no good reason for someone knocking on my trailer door at 6 o'clock on a Friday morning. Their rudeness was rewarded by a half-naked man opening the door. Day jockey shorts are disgusting, and the lady at the door, judging by the look on her face, agreed with me. She looked away, but her companion didn't seem to be impressed. Normally, I would have worn pants, but at a time like this, guests annoyed me. We're looking for John Terrell. I don't know you. My name is David Simmons, and this is my wife, Marcia. We have a problem, and we're hoping you can help us. I'm so sorry. I don't work by moonlight. If you need something done on your car, you'll have to go to the store. This elicited several blank stares and finally a response. It has nothing to do with your job. It's more of a personal problem. Can we come in? The trailer inside looked like crap. I rarely had guests, so I rarely cleaned it. Even my girlfriends insisted we go to their place. Be my guest. Let me put on my pants real quick. As I entered the bedroom, I left the door open. Just to show them what a welcoming host I am, I also put on a shirt. Would you like some coffee? It'll only take about 10 minutes. I moved some things off the couch so they could sit down. There was no answer to the coffee question. We have an adopted daughter of 4.5 years old who needs a bone marrow transplant, and we are hoping you can help us. We are willing to pay you if needed. Buy my bone marrow? No. We want to use it, and we're willing to compensate you for any inconvenience. I think you want to buy it. I was acting like a wise ass, and I suddenly realized it. These people were serious. They had a real problem, and they were looking for help. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue. Our best chance of finding a donor is next of kin. You're our best hope. Watch this. I don't mean to be a smartass, but I think you got the wrong guy. When was your daughter born? She'll be 5 years old in July. Marcia Simmons spoke for the first time, and she sounded sincere. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I had a vasectomy 15 years ago. There's no way I could be her father. Why was your name on the birth certificate? I can't answer that. Maybe you should ask her mother. That statement was met with silence. I felt sorry for these people, but I didn't know how to help them. What's the mother's name? Sarah Louise Terrell. I couldn't find the words. Maybe I shouldn't have taken those damn pills from her. Of course, then those people wouldn't have a daughter at all. I thought I was done with grief, and here it is again. Old memories of my wife having sex with that damn Philadelphia politician. I was starting to forget it all, and now it was back. God damn it. I now understand and apologize for my rudeness and insensitivity. I will do everything in my power to help you. First of all, why can't Sarah get a bone marrow transplant? Medically, she can't. Why not? She's a mother. She has to be a worthy donor. Oh, she's a suitable donor, but she's too sick. The doctors refuse to even consider using her. Sick. With what? She's dying of liver failure. She's got less than 6 months to live. This doesn't make any sense. She's always been in perfect health. Besides, I don't believe a diseased liver will prevent her from donating bone marrow. The hospital won't accept her signature on the consent form. Are you saying there's something wrong with her head? They both looked at me in silence. They knew the answer, but they didn't want to say it. At that moment, I didn't want them to feel even more awkward. 10 minutes ago, I didn't care about them, but now I felt like I had to protect them and help them. How did this happen? Could any of my kids help? Maybe, but we thought you were our best hope. Why don't you go after your father, your real father? We thought it was you. We have no idea who else it could be. Sarah didn't tell us anything about another possible father. In fact, she was in no condition to explain anything. Marcia added, we got most of our information from the adoption agency. I had to get coffee and take a leak. Excuse me for a moment. I left my guest sitting there while I brewed the coffee. It only took a few minutes. While it brewed, I did a much-needed morning pee. I tried to be discreet. I'd embarrassed Marcia enough already. Where do you live? Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'll make you a deal. If I tell you who your daughter's real father is, you have to promise me you'll pursue him relentlessly until you get what you want. What are you talking about? Your daughter's father is a prominent politician in Pennsylvania. He will, of course, deny everything and will probably provide you with legal documents to stop your efforts. If you agree to push hard enough to get him to admit that the child is his, you can shame him into getting a bone marrow transplant. That's what you want, right? Yeah, sure, but how do we do that? I don't know. I'm a mechanic. I work metal for a living. I think the best way would be to use television, radio, and newspapers. Politicians will do anything to avoid bad press. Do you have any friends who might be able to help? Well, now they were both smiling. I must have said something that gave them hope. I think we can do this. Who the hell is he? Malcolm Eugene Foote. He's running for U.S. Senate. I bet he'll do anything to avoid bad publicity. Coffee was ready, but David and Marcia couldn't wait to get home. Before they left, I told them how to contact Gloria and Josh in case they needed them. I was sure they would help. I also had them tell me where Sarah was. I would most likely be in Pensacola before they even got back to Westchester. I got a haircut and bought a new shirt. Sarah was a cheater who had ruined my life, but I still wanted to look good when I saw her. It was another trailer, but this time it was a nice new double. There stood her Volvo with a flat tire and a broken windshield. The woman who opened the door wasn't Sarah. She looked like she'd been doused hard and left soaking wet. She was at least 45, maybe 50, and must have had a hard life. The lack of makeup didn't help, and she just looked awful. I didn't get a chance to open my mouth. Damned if it wasn't John Terrell. I never expected to see you here. I had to use the old line. You're putting me at a disadvantage. Sherry heart. Come on in, honey. Can I get you a beer? No, but thank you. I'm here to see Sarah. Sherry walked across the room and stopped at the buffet in the dining room. Here she is, John. Look all you want. Her hand pointed to a brass urn that stood in the middle of the empty buffet. I guess I was too late. I didn't move, just stood there staring at the container in front of me. Can I have a beer now? Sarah moved to Pensacola after giving up her baby for adoption. She bought the trailer with the money she got from Bixler Enterprises after she was laid off. She had a profit share, 401k, and vacation and sick leave. She eventually took a job at a local garment factory where she worked in the shipping department. That's where she met Sherry. Sherry rented a room from Sarah. Every dime Sarah earned went to booze. She started with wine and gradually switched to stronger drinks, the cheapest ones. Eventually, she lost her job because of her drinking and was forced to use her savings. She never dated anyone or went out anywhere. Sherry stayed with her, paid her utilities, and bought food that Sarah wouldn't eat. It took her over 3 years to kill herself. Amazingly, she had a will and left me a double trailer and a Volvo. Sherry explained that Sarah was so upset about what she had done that she just gave up. She didn't try to prevent the pregnancy or even terminate it. The adoption had been arranged months before the baby was born. She never went back to work, except for the black jobs she did poorly. Sherry said that Sarah didn't seem to have any ambition or purpose in life. Sarah talked about me a lot but was afraid to try to contact me. Gloria gave her my number, but she never called me. It was as if her one-night affair had hurt her more than it had hurt me. I was there for 2 weeks, and then I sold Sherry's trailer for $1 and got $1,000 for the Volvo. 2 days later, I was in Westchester visiting my new friends, David and Marcia. Malcolm Eugene Foote resisted at first, but David and Marcia turned the screws until he gave in. He insisted on DNA tests, which proved he was the father. To save face, he was more or less forced into a bone marrow transplant, which was successful. Malcolm's political career and family life did not make a favorable impression either. His decline in the polls was so rapid that the party replaced him with another candidate a few months before the election. His wife filed for divorce and was very public about it. Sarah and I are now traveling to Dallas to see Gloria and my grandchildren. I don't know how long I will keep Sarah with me. Probably